Hello everyone, I am Alper Markov with Concepts and Legends, and tonight we will be doing another MTG artist exclusive with the artist Joe Slucher. So without further ado, let's go to the interview.
There we go.
All right, I
All
can see you now. Cool. Look at that. Look at that setup you got going on there.
right. I tried to make it look decent.
Yeah, we have have the headset going on thing. Okay. So first question would be, how did you originally get involved with Magic: The Gathering?
I mean, they don't do it so much anymore, but they used to always do portfolio reviews at
Hmm.
conventions. And so I'd shown my work to them for a couple of years and gotten feedback and made revisions. And then in 2016, which they'd had a gap, I think, after John Schindehedi. He used to be like a big art director for Magic, and
Hmm.
he left. And they kind of took a break from doing conventions. And then in 2016, Cynthia Shepard, who you probably know,
Right.
and Mark Winters were doing portfolio reviews at Gen Con. So I showed my work in 2016, and they decided the portfolio was up to snuff, and that's when I started doing artwork for them. I think they sent me a card like the following week that was Ramunap Excavator, the promo. And that was really exciting because they told me, they were like, we're going to start you off slow. We're just going to give you like an item illustration. And
Right.
then the first one they sent me is a Naga.
So what was that officially your very first one?
Yeah, that was my first one that I worked on.
And then what was that year that you started then?
That was, I think, 2016, if I remember right. Or maybe the card was maybe released in 2016. It's one of the two. I know that the card is like stamped with the date since it's like the promo. But if it says it was released in 2017, then I started working for them in 2016, August of 2016.
At what age were you when you started art? And
I started doing. I remember seeing my brother back when CDs were popular. There was like he'd
oh, I
made
remember
a
those
wood
days.
a wood box for like holding his CD cases, and he'd drawn like some sort of angry wizard face on it with lightning bolts coming out of the head or something. And I thought that was really cool. And I started wanting to be as good as my brother, who like rarely ever drew. And I'm sure like the image he probably like copied off a CD cover or something. But so then I started messing around with drawing, but I didn't take it real serious. But luckily my parents, like, if they saw any interest in anything, they'd jump on it and encourage it. So they got me a couple of like still life drawing classes. But then like I said, I wasn't super interested in it. Like, I was really into sports and stuff, so I didn't spend a whole lot of time on the art until like high school, when I was having to think about, well, what do I do after high school? And then I started spending more time on the artwork.
And your parents were very supportive of that. I see. Like, that's awesome, because not a lot of parents would be supportive of somebody showing interest in art so late in the game.
Yeah. They were great about it for sure.
Um, Now, as far as the creative processes behind the cards, one of them that there's two, well, there's three in particular that I like to know about, but um,
Okay.
I guess I can start first is with what was the first mythic card that you got assigned to do?
I think the only one I've done so far that's released is Embercleave.
Well, technically, isn't Mathis mythic?
Is Mathis mythic?
The Fiend Seeker?
I didn't think he was mythic,
I think
but
he is, because he's legendary, so he has to be a mythic.
I guess he is then. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I think that one paid more, which usually it's the mythic ones that pay more, so that makes sense. But
nice.
yeah,
So
I know it was a legendary, but I didn't know if that automatically meant mythic.
yeah, no, there's a lot of like trickery in it. But so with that one, okay, like specifically, you were involved with that one in the Bloodline Necromancer. How did you get the information? Because I read online that you didn't know anything about Mathis, and you were sort of just given the go from there. Was that the same for Bloodline? And how did those two pieces come together?
So it really varies. I always tell people it's there's this wide spectrum of how like the work can develop. Like on Mathis, they told me it was a vampire bounty hunter, and then on that one it was like a super specific process. It was, we want a camera angle like looking up at him holding this branding iron,
Okay.
and they even had like a picture of a coat, and they were like, we want him wearing this specific coat. And but like other than like, and they told me the colors that he would be, but other than that, you know, I don't know anything about what the card will do. So like, and that on that particular card, I'm mostly like, you know, I'm picking out a design for the brand, and then sort of designing, you know, the face and the expression, and then the lighting, because, you know, the pose is sort of already chosen and the camera angle is already chosen. So that's like a really narrow piece to like get, which isn't very common. Most of the time they're pretty much more open than that. And then on Bloodline, I believe they told me that this, not the exact mechanics on that one, but they were like, this is, you know, an unattractive vampire, unattractive vampire that brings vampires back from the dead. And so for that one, you know, I put together a bunch of different compositions. You know, I think I sent them 4, and this was really early on, so it varies like how many sketches I do, but on that one, I know I did like 4 really tight sketches that are a couple of different poses and angles and sort of lighting of the scene. And they told me that that one would be like in some like catacombs, but you know, I just have a stone floor and you can see a skeleton on the ground in the background.
Right.
It's not like, you know, that's not like a crucial part of the card, so I didn't have to put a lot of focus on that. But there were some sketches where it was like, you know, look at this grand catacomb background, and you know, they obviously they didn't choose those.
I mean, there was, I like the fact that there's the bones in the background. You see one of them is like a spine of like, it's like a spine and a skull of what used to be, I'm assuming, a human. I guess it could be some sort of bipedal creature or whatever, but
dinner leftovers.
yeah, right. And then how with the faces of the characters that you do, like even with like Hired Poisoner, how do you, as a non-artist, how do you create a face out of nothingness? I mean, is there a person you base them off of? Is the girl or the woman that's being rebrought from the dead to the undead, she based off some? How do you do that? I mean,
it's all over the place. I mean, sometimes I'll have a friend pose if I can think like, oh, I think this person would be a good fit, like with Obsessed Stitcher. You know, that person was supposed to have a real wild, or in my mind was going to have a really wild, crazed look in their eye. Like this is not somebody who's normal. And you know, I don't have a crazy friend, but I had somebody that I knew was like, felt very high energy, you know, like that's just kind of what I felt like she exudes. And so I was like, okay, I want to see if I can get her to, you know, take a photo for this. And I think she did really good. And then other times, like especially, you know, sometimes they'll ask for specific ethnicities. And on those, I definitely go to Google and try to find pictures of those like ethnicities, and also like do a little bit of research. Like I grew up in Kentucky. I'm maybe not the best at like when I've visited like friends in California, like they seem like they really know ethnicities really well. They're like, oh, that I can tell that person's, you know, probably got a
little bit of Latin or a little bit of like
Native
has
a grandfather from Burma, and I'm like, you know, I have no idea. So like, you know, I do a little bit of research to make sure, because like you see it a lot where, you know, artists they're supposed to be illustrating a Chinese person and they end up looking Japanese, and like people notice that. So like on those specific things, I try to do like a little bit of research and Google people and, you know, use the best reference I can for that.
So okay, so then okay, so I'll try to bring myself back. So we were talking about okay, with the
Faces.
faces. They can be a combination of either people who you know or what research you've done. So then follow that up with Embercleave, which that's, as you can see, that's my background here. I don't know if you noticed it. I know I've been talking to the person who painted this actually,
Yeah.
so but
People tend to like that one.
it's a big card. It's
Yeah.
very big. It's and I got to tell you, when you get bashed with it in arena, it's brutal. I mean, like, it's a game ender. How did you then, if Throne of Eldraine was a top to bottom design, correct?
What do you mean?
Well, they usually, with the Magic, a lot of times they'll start out with the it's the cards mechanisms, and then the artwork is the last to come. Versus with Throne of Eldraine, from what I've read, they did the sort of like stories and whatnot behind it first, and then the mechanics like last. So was the direction for that different? How did you get the information for that card? Tell us about that.
I mean, like usual, I didn't know anything about what the mechanics would be. I just was told, I did know in advance that one was going to be a mythic, and I knew that it was going to be a red artifact. And they didn't tell me, there's been some speculation whether it's Excalibur or what it might be from, Arthurian legend. They didn't give me that specific information, but they told me that it would be a sword being pulled from stone. And so I really didn't know it was going to be as ridiculously good as it is. So like, I really had no idea. Yeah, it's been fun seeing like the comments and stuff on that. Like I know I've seen somebody talking about how it's a card that's like so powerful that you worry about it even when people don't have it in their deck. Like, just there's like a constant you don't have to have it in your deck for it to make people worried.
It's very worrisome. I mean, like, when that thing comes out, it's like you could have your whole field lined up, right? At least you got yourself, let's say you got a 2020 creature, and then the Embercleave comes out, and it's just like, it's going to bash through that 2020 regardless, because it's got the first strike and trample. So it's just, I mean, do you play Magic, or are you do you play it yourself, or are you just sort of, do you learn about it through the creation of the cards?
I used to play more regularly, and I used to just do like probably 2 or so booster drafts a year with friends, and that was the extent of it. With COVID, I haven't been playing it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Unfortunately. But I played a ton in sort of end of middle school into high school. So like, revised, like getting Time Walk. And I remember I think I sort of bowed out around Homelands for like a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then came back to doing, basically me and my friends will do like sort of a gaming retreat weekend, like twice a year. And we would somebody would always get a box to do a booster draft. And that would be part of like the weekends gaming.
So when's the last time you've played it in person, do you think? Because it's been forever for me.
Jeez, I mean, at this point, it was probably a year and a half.
Oh, it's murder.
Yeah, it's been a while. And we do Commander sometimes. So I got, it's always been casual when I've done it. Commander's fun.
Oh yeah.
And then booster drafts are low stress and more of a chaotic thing. And we were getting the boxes, but then we started switching to doing popper cubes, and those are fun.
Yeah, you should definitely you should sign into Arena just to have your like yourself like beaten by an Embercleave, because it was in the guy who won the world championship. It was in his deck. He did a red rush. It was like the card that was in it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even not playing a lot, when I came out and just saw the mechanics, I knew it was absurdly good. I don't think you have to be very good at Magic to see that that's a super good card.
No, although, I mean, when I started playing, I mean, you probably could have pulled one. I'd be like, it's an artifact.
Yeah.
But so I knocked my headphone off when I did that noise. Okay. So then my question is, you do, and hopefully I'm not pronouncing this incorrectly. You do go ash paintings on the back of your cards,
Oh
like
yeah. It's pronounced gouache. I'm sure it's
shoot,
probably pronounced all sorts of ways, but
wash. I feel
yeah,
like a
I know.
moron.
Oh no, you're fine. I've pronounced it wrong for years. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong still, but yeah, I was using gouache because it's super opaque. So instead of having to do like a lot of work on the image and potentially like warping the card a bunch, making it real bendy, if you just like mix really exact colors just to get to lay down one layer and it's completely opaque, and uh, it's not just that you can work quicker with it, but also that hopefully I'm causing less warping with the cards. Because like there's a couple I did when I first started doing artist proof paintings. Like I did one in oils. Somebody out there's got it. It's a little baby green dragon, and it's nice, but like it being in oils, it definitely makes that card very bendy.
Right.
And then like I know, then I started doing a bunch of like more washy watercolor ones, and you have the same problem because you're putting so much liquid into that little piece of cardboard that it gets real bendy.
What is now for those of us not in the know? What is the artist proof? What is that specifically?
So for every card an artist does for Magic, they get it varies a little bit. I don't know why there's a little bit of a discrepancy, but usually on most occasions it's 30 foils and 50 non-foils, where instead of having the like Magic logo on the back, they're white.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of like a collector's item type thing that just the artist gets. They usually we sign and number them and then sell them, or we do like little paintings on them and then sell those to people that want them. But like there's some cards where if they're in a commander deck, where only the where that card wouldn't be available as a foil, then the artists don't get a foil copy. Yeah, so sometimes there's just 50 copies. There's been a little I don't know why, but sometimes I'll get 60 of a card. I don't know why. It's like sometimes 50, sometimes it's 55, sometimes it's 60, but it's in that range.
Gotcha. Okay. I wouldn't have even noticed this. But I saw on your website, in your FAQs, do people really write what happened to your face? Like,
I don't know. I definitely get that regularly. It seems as I get older, I run into it less, but it used to be like way more common to get asked how I got the scars and stuff. So,
it's like this. Yeah. I mean, like, but like, what kind of person? What happened to your face?
well, people, and you see it with a lot of other injuries. People that have burns or that sort of thing. A lot of times people ask them, how it happened.
And you
I
were
think it's a little less like noticeable now, but like when I was younger, one eye definitely looked more like I had a black eye. It's like a lot of times people thought, oh, I got into a fight or something. And, so
Yeah.
I think that people feel more comfortable asking if they think it was a fight because they think it was like maybe something somebody be proud of. I don't know.
right. And then you
People
tell them,
are strange.
and then you tell them a horrifying story about a dog attack.
Yeah. Train your dogs, people.
Right. And well, what's cool though is I noticed you have a dog yourself, so it's like I'm glad that didn't sour you to dogs in general.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I've always loved dogs. Still continue to love dogs.
Yeah, except that one dog,
Yeah.
hopefully. I mean,
Even that one, I'm pretty understanding that there was probably something else that I don't even understand that caused it to. So like what happened was my brother, who's 7 years older than me, I think he was like putting me over the fence or something.
uh-oh.
So when I went over the fence, which I mean, we played in the backyard a lot, with this is our dog, by the way. And for people watching this later, don't realize this was my dog that attacked me. And I was, I think, 5. And my brother was the one that fed it, and I was on his shoulder. So I don't know if like if the dog thought, I was somebody hostile to my brother or what. but
Right.
and then like we had, delinquent neighbors that like I think probably teased it because we had like apple trees and stuff. So there were like lots of apples and cherries and stuff inside and outside the yard. So like we think neighbors might have teased it some, throwing apples at it or something. So like maybe a couple things that could have contributed to like why it would be aggressive or angry towards somebody or whatever. But even that dog, I don't hate. Who knows what was going on with it, what it thought, but I'm fine.
That's good. I mean, I'm glad. Do you think that like maybe because I was talking to Vincent Prost and he had an early like trauma happen to him. Do you think that goes into the elements of your artwork? I mean, because that's such a formative time to go through something so violent. And he was hit by a car when he was young.
Yeah.
Do you think that plays into it?
It's hard to say. I don't know. I mean, remember things from then, like that other kids didn't have these visuals. Like I do remember, like my vision, because like it broke my eye socket. Like my eyes weren't aligned and stuff. Like that's how bad it was. And I remember looking up my vision being messed up, and I described to my parents that it felt like looking through stained glass, like
Wow.
like red stained glass. And I think there's a couple of things that affected like me going into art, but I don't know if don't know how much of a factor that played particularly.
What would be the things that you would say affected you as far as going into art then, and the subjects that you were drawn to?
I would say the main thing that like drove me to doing art was my mother, she was a nurse, and she hated that job so much. And she would come home all the time just like so upset with their job or like bitter with their job. So when high school, and I was trying to think of like I did well in school, so there was a part of me that was like, man, I should do something, go into something safe. But my mom coming home always like upset with their job, like had me like, God, I better pick something that I'm really gonna enjoy for the rest of my life. Like I better head into something that like I like really love. And like art was the only thing I could sort of think of where it was like I would lose track of time doing art. I'd just be absorbed in it for several hours. So I would say my mom's experience with working is what drove me to art, as far
Right.
as like why the weird subject matter and stuff. I think it was just getting exposed to a lot of that as a kid. Like I I played Magic when it was like first coming out. I got lots of comic books when I was a kid. Comics were huge.
Right.
That's
Gotcha.
like how my parents would like bribe me to do well in everything, and I did
Nice.
and I did well in things. So I ended up with like all these comic books, and like that definitely drove my interest in art. And like I remember as a kid, like be like, well, I'm not interested in these, because like the comic book stores they mainly take me to like weren't today's comic book stores. Like people are kind of like they're spoiled. They get like real comic book stores, and but when I was a kid, it would be like you go into like the pharmacy and they'd have a spin rack, and it would
Right. Yeah.
and it would have like a Spider-Man issue where this time the guest hero with them is an NFL football player. Like you get these goofy comic books. And so like I remember eventually I started getting to go to like more sort of gaming stores when my parents would go to Lexington, and I'd see these role-playing books, and I didn't know what in the world they were, or like how you played the games. But like I remember seeing like all these like Gamma World or like and Werewolf the Apocalypse books, and being like, oh my God, like Ron Spencer, who's a magic artist, like fell in love with his work through Werewolf the Apocalypse and the Rage card game. I don't know if you remember that.
That one, no, I don't know that one.
But yeah, so then I was like, instead of getting a comic, can I get one of these role-playing books, like trying to talk my parents into those. And then, it came back around to the Magic, and so all that stuff influenced me.
So that makes sense. And so I guess the last couple, I won't keep you too much longer. The last couple of questions are, is there a way to purchase any of your originals, or are all of those like sold out, or what's the deal with that?
I have some on my website. Like I have the sketches for Gluttonous Troll on there. As
Right.
far as like paintings for cards, I don't have any of my, like I've done some oil paintings of some of my cards, but those aren't out yet. Most of my work has been digital, but it's often on, even like now that some oils will start to come up, I still sometimes do some digital and do some oils.
When you say they aren't out yet, does that mean that there's future things coming out for you via Magic? Are you allowed to mention that, or?
I think it's pretty well known, accepted that we have, like, it takes a year for after we do a card before
Right.
it come out, and then I've seen Magic artists saying, "Hey, I've got stuff coming up in Kaldheim," and that sort of thing. Between all my clients, I have about 21 pieces that I can't even show yet. Those aren't all for Magic, but that's like basically a year's worth of work that I can't show until products come out and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Until the contract says you can do so.
Yeah, but yeah, when those oil paintings come out, I still don't know exactly how I'm gonna handle them, because the original market is real interesting right now. I'm still making up my mind, like, what I think of it, because there's the commons and stuff, they tend to go for a pretty low amount, and then so the sales are mostly based off of how rare the card is or how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like if I did a painting of a common card, it might be better for my family's future if I don't sell it and I just tell them to hold on to it. And
Right on.
So we'll see. Some of them might be for sale in the future, some might not be. I don't know.
And then, so I guess the final one would be, so now that because unfortunately everything's been stopped to a halt because of COVID, what can fans do if they want to get signatures on anything? Is there a system for you to have that done?
Yeah, I guess I'll have to add it back. I did have a page up on my website. Maybe I'll make that more public. But if, I don't know if fans are familiar, but if you're on Discord, there's a Discord just for Magic artist proofs.
Okay.
And artists that are on there, they have their own channel. So I have my own channel on there. So sometimes when I do like a painted card, I'll put up, hey, it's going up on my website and it'll be for sale on this. And I've posted in there before, like, okay, you can mail me all your cards, this month, and I'll sign them and send them back. But I not always sign cards and send them back. I just, right now, I think on my website, I don't have a page posted with, here's my address, and send me cards.
Yeah, it doesn't have that on there. I think probably because you were doing so many public appearances that's where it seemed like you got the bulk of them done.
Yeah, and if you get on that Discord, I believe there's still a link on there about how to do that. I'll probably make that go live again. I just got to figure out where I'm gonna fit that in on the website UI, like a link to just that. I did have it on the FAQ for a while, and and then I think in February, I was still working out, but I know Matthew Schneider, he contacted me about doing a group signing in February, and I think I might do that because I think it's somewhat more convenient for some people to just go through one of those people that sends in big packages to get signed and then returns them all to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't usually do those just because it feels a little awkward to me, like this, like impersonal. Whereas like if somebody send me a card, they know that I'm signing it, I'm sending it back. It's just nobody.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I don't think that's impersonal or anything. I think if it's you get a certain amount of stuff coming in that becomes overwhelming. I mean, it makes sense.
I guess part of it is like that. Like I don't know how they're being treated by the person who's like between me and them. you know, so that always makes me a little nervous. Like, you know, are they being polite or
right.
charging them $10 for a signature when I'm like a dollar? You know?
Well, if anybody out there now, if Joe decides to do this, you must let him know how you are being treated, because
Yeah,
he
definitely.
wants to know.
Yeah, if you got complaints about anybody who's getting me to sign cards for you, let me know, because I would like to know. Or if you
And
love it and you're getting a super awesome experience, like let me
yeah,
know too. Then I'll be like, well, that person's gonna handle it better than me, and I'll do more of those.
and I the final question would be anything upcoming that you want to discuss that you're able to discuss.
I mean, I mostly got a bunch of Magic cards in the future. I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I can't really discuss them other than say I'm still doing Magic work. And that's my main client right now. I'm starting to do more. So I released some tokens for people who play role-playing games and virtual tabletops on DM's Guild, and I'm probably gonna release a couple more things. I do a lot of role-playing, and so I've been really spoiling my players and making them some ridiculously work-intensive things, and you know, some of them point out you should sell this or compile this together. So I got, I would describe what it is, but it's super weird.
How weird. Oh, come on, you could give it a shot.
It's not an adventure or anything, but it's like, I'll tell people if you'll want to go through like the effort of putting it together themselves. But if you ever played Acquisitions Incorporated,
I've heard of it. Yeah.
okay, so it's like the players are sort of like a company is sort of the idea. And so I'm doing D&D with my group, and they're sort of a franchise of these adventurers. So like they, and if you ever read the book Orconomics, it's sort of like that. So it's like there are, you know, there's basically a market for monster loot where they sell off shares, and then the shares go towards commissioning adventurers to go kill the monster and get the loot, and then it goes out to shareholders.
Oh, like Bitcoin, right?
Yeah. Sure. But so what I put together was, I was like, well, it's a really, Acquisition Incorporated is this like really rough idea. So like what I made for my players was like a literal like training manual for them from the company. So it's like, you know, covers stuff you would find in a normal training manual, but it's like for a fantasy thing. So it's like talking about, you know, interacting with customers, which would be the people like hiring adventurers, and then, you know, has stuff about use of force policy. What I found really interesting with my players is I thought they would just be like, aha, it's funny, it's a really realistic fantasy or training manual for a fantasy company thing. But there were a couple of players who like really latched onto it, like, no, we're not supposed to like behave this way because our training manual says we shouldn't.
So you
And
created like almost like a fantasy HR department in a way,
yeah,
right? It's like,
it was interesting how like that it would have an effect on the players. I thought they mostly behave the same way, but then some players are like, no, you've got to be you know, courteous to the client, say their name back to them 2 times to show that you remember their name, and like all these things for like social interaction. I thought they would just throw away, and instead they were like taking it to heart.
right.
And then
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is great for a game master. Like it's like something else to also enforce with players, like don't just be murder hobos, you know, which is the, you know, the slang term for it. So it's like, you know, I think I'll put this together into a thing that other people can use.
That's a pretty cool idea. I mean, it does give you like a very real life sense of power, and it sort of it also caters to people who like rules, and a lot of people like rules. It's their personality.
Yeah, and like, you know, there's a lot of things that are getting more popular right now. Like, so Monty Cook Games, I know they have a thing for like sort of establishing sort of like ground rules at your table. You know, like these are like off topic subjects for me, or like this is something I wouldn't be cool with as a player happening, and like the training manual for a game master could be a way to sort of
Nip that in the bud.
nip that in the bud in game. So it's not even like for the people who are like really conservative, they don't even have to feel like bristle at it, because it's not like, it's like, no, this is an in-game thing.
Right.
That you would, if you did this at this company, you would just get fired. So
You don't do it.
yeah, I mean, that's a risk that you would take, is that you get fired and you basically have to make a new character. I mean, it's good to have the ground rules thing, but I like the thing of like building it into the game, of like real consequences for sort of breaking this trust of the players, what everybody's agreed to.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, it's cool because it takes, like I said, it's a mystical, it takes a real life element, but it kind of folds it organically into that mystical world, which is kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very, like not obtuse, but there's a word I'm looking for, but I'm forgetting it. Damn, I'm just gonna kill me.
You'll think of it right after
I will.
we end the call.
I will think of it right after. God, it's like, whoa. Well, I won't keep any more of your time. Thank you so much for the interview, and I look forward to more art from you.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed the interview. Thanks for reaching out and contacting me.
Thank you. Awesome. I'll talk to you later.
All right. You have a good one.
You too.
Thank you for watching Concepts and Legends, and if you like what you saw and want to see more, please like and subscribe. But until next time, I got a scoop.